What happens when the joke you thought would make you unforgettable becomes the reason your husband erases you from his life? Can a single night with a friend, and the lies you tell to cover it, turn your marriage into a public spectacle and leave you clutching divorce papers in the cold morning light? This is the story of how I lost everything, and why I still think I was right. My name is Isabel Greaves, and I'm 33 years old. I work as a mid-level marketing coordinator at a downtown firm, and until recently, I thought I had the perfect life. Modern apartment, decent job, a 6-year-old daughter named Piper, and a husband who trusted me completely. Owen Greaves, 36, works in IT, and has always been the quiet type. Some might call him boring, but I used to find his steady nature comforting. That was before I realized how suffocating steady could feel. The night everything changed started like any other Wednesday. I was at the office late, working on a campaign proposal with my colleague Seth Milner. Seth's 35, married, and has this easygoing charm that makes even the most tedious projects feel fun. We'd been working together for months, and our friendship had developed into something comfortable. "You know what your problem is, Isabel," Seth said, leaning back in his chair as we finished up around 9 p.m. "You're too responsible. When's the last time you did something spontaneous?" I laughed, closing my laptop. "Spontaneous? I have a 6-year-old and a husband who expects dinner on the table." "See? That's exactly what I mean." Seth's eyes had this mischievous glint. "Come on, live a little. Have a drink with me. We can order takeout, watch a movie. No pressure, just two friends hanging out." The rational part of my mind knew I should go home. Owen would be waiting, probably helping Piper with her homework. But something about Seth's invitation felt like a lifeline. When had I last done something just for me? "One drink," I said, and that's how I ended up at Seth's apartment. His place was everything our family apartment wasn't. Sleek, minimal, adult. No toys scattered around, no cartoon characters on the walls. We ordered Chinese food and opened a bottle of wine. One glass turned into 2, then 3. "You're different when you relax," Seth said, sitting closer to me on his leather couch. "More yourself." The wine made everything feel warm and possible. When Seth's hand brushed mine, reaching for the remote, I didn't pull away. When he suggested I was too tired to drive home, it seemed logical. When he offered me his bed while he took the couch, it felt innocent enough. But I knew it wasn't innocent, and I knew Owen would be worried. I texted him around 11. "Working late, might crash at Sarah's. Don't wait up." Sarah was my college roommate who lived across town. Owen had never met her, which made the lie feel safer. I turned off my phone and tried not to think about the fact that I was lying in another man's bed, wearing his oversized t-shirt, listening to him move around in the living room. Nothing happened that night. Not technically. But something shifted inside me. Some boundary I'd always respected suddenly felt negotiable. I woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a sick feeling in my stomach. My phone showed 17 missed calls and 12 text messages, all from Owen. The breaking moment was the message waiting on my phone at sunrise. "I called your friend's wife." My stomach dropped before I even understood why. I'd told myself it was innocent, that sleeping over was just convenience, that my husband was lucky I was honest. But my husband had stayed quiet all night, and that silence turned out to be action. I scrambled to get dressed, my hands shaking as I tried to come up with an explanation. Seth was already gone, probably at his own job, pretending nothing had happened. The drive home felt endless. I rehearsed my story. I was too tired. Sarah insisted I stay. My phone died. Simple, believable excuses that any reasonable husband would accept. Owen was waiting in our kitchen, still in yesterday's clothes. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. Piper was at the breakfast table, eating cereal and watching cartoons on her tablet, oblivious to the tension. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Sorry about last night." Sarah had this crisis with her boyfriend, and you know how she gets. I couldn't just leave her. Owen looked at me for a long moment. His expression was unreadable, which was somehow worse than anger. "Tell me again where you were," he said quietly. "Sarah's apartment. I told you she needed—" "What's Sarah's address?" The question caught me off guard. Her address? Why would you need her address? "Just tell me." I fumbled through my phone, trying to buy time. It's 412 Maple Street. The blue building with the white trim." Owen nodded slowly. Then he slid something across the table. A screenshot of the address I'd just given him, next to a photo of a building entrance, showing a different name on the mailbox. "I went there," he said. "I waited for 2 hours. Nobody named Sarah lives there. In fact, nobody answered at all because the building's been empty for months." My mouth went dry. "Owen, I can explain." "Daddy, why are you sad?" Piper looked up from her cereal, her big brown eyes confused. "Daddy's just tired, sweetheart," I said quickly. "Why don't you go get ready for school?" Owen waited until Piper left the room before speaking again. "I called your office. They said you left with Seth around 9. I called Seth's wife. She said he didn't come home either." The walls felt like they were closing in. "Owen, nothing happened. I swear to you, nothing happened." But something almost did. It wasn't a question. I wanted to deny it, but the words stuck in my throat. Owen's quiet certainty was more devastating than shouting would have been. "I need some time to think," he said, standing up. "We'll talk about this later." That's when I noticed Seth had stopped answering my texts. The next few days passed in a strange, tense limbo. Owen moved his things into the guest room without explanation, and Piper kept asking why Daddy was sleeping on the small bed. I told her he was working late and didn't want to wake Mommy, which felt like the millionth lie I'd told since that night. At work, Seth avoided me completely. When I cornered him by the coffee machine on Friday, he looked uncomfortable. "Look, Isabel, what happened was fun, but maybe we should keep things professional from now on." "Fun?" I stared at him. "Seth, my husband knows. He called your wife." Seth shrugged. "I handled it. Told her we were working late and you needed a safe place to crash. She believed me." "But Owen doesn't believe me." "That's not my problem." Seth grabbed his coffee and walked away, leaving me standing there feeling stupid and used. That weekend, I decided to take control of the narrative. If Owen wanted to make a big deal out of nothing, I'd show him how ridiculous he was being. I posted on Facebook, "When your husband can't handle the fact that you have male friends. Welcome to 2024, people." The responses were mixed. My mother, Greta, immediately commented, "Good for you, honey. Don't let anyone police your friendships." My brother, Cade, added laughing emojis and wrote, "Owen needs to chill." But some of our mutual friends seemed confused. Owen's sister, Naomi, called me that evening. "Isabel, what's going on? Owen seems really upset, and now you're posting cryptic stuff online." "Your brother is being dramatic," I said, pacing around our living room while Owen sat silently at his laptop in the corner. "I stayed at a friend's place because I was too tired to drive home, and he's acting like I committed a crime." "A friend? What friend?" I hesitated. "Just someone from work. Look, Naomi, I don't need to justify my friendships to anyone, including my husband." There was a pause. "Isabel, you know I love you, but this doesn't sound like you. What really happened?" "Nothing happened." The words came out louder than I intended. Owen looked up from his laptop, his expression unreadable. "Why does everyone assume something happened? Can't a woman have a platonic friendship without everyone losing their minds?" After I hung up, Owen closed his laptop and looked at me directly for the first time in days. "Is that what we're calling it? A platonic friendship? What would you call it?" "I'd call it my wife lying to me about where she spent the night." "I didn't lie. I just simplified the truth." Owen stood up. "You told me you were at Sarah's apartment. You gave me a fake address. You turned off your phone. How is that simplifying? Because I knew you'd overreact. And look, I was right." "I'm overreacting?" Owen's voice stayed level, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. Isabel, you spent the night at another man's house and lied about it. How exactly should I react? Like a modern husband who trusts his wife. Trust? Owen laughed, but there was no humor in it. You literally lied to my face multiple times. I felt cornered, so I did what I always do when I feel cornered. I went on the attack. You know what your problem is, Owen? You're boring. When's the last time you did something spontaneous? When's the last time you made me feel exciting or desired or interesting? The words hung in the air between us. Owen's face went completely blank. So, this is my fault, he said quietly. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying maybe if you paid more attention to your wife, she wouldn't need to find excitement elsewhere. Find excitement. Owen repeated the words like he was testing them. Is that what you call lying to me? I call it living my life. Owen stared at me for a long moment, then picked up his laptop and headed for the guest room. I need to think about some things. That night, I heard the printer running. When I got up to check, the guest room door was locked. On Monday, I doubled down on my social media strategy. I posted a photo of myself at lunch with the caption, "Living my best life, regardless of what small minds think." The likes and supportive comments felt validating, even if some of our friends seemed confused by the subtext. My mother called that afternoon. "Honey, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself, but maybe you should tone down the posts a little. Some people are starting to ask questions." "What kind of questions?" "Well, Martha Henderson asked me if you and Owen were having problems. And your father, he thinks you might be handling this wrong." "Dad barely talks to me anyway. Why does he suddenly have opinions about my marriage?" "He's worried about Piper. She called him yesterday asking why you and Daddy are always whispering." That gave me pause. I'd been so focused on winning the narrative war that I hadn't considered how it might affect our daughter. "Piper's fine," I said, but even as I said it, I remembered how she'd asked me that morning why Daddy looked sad all the time. Just, be careful, sweetheart. Sometimes being right isn't worth being alone. That evening, Owen came home with groceries and started making dinner without a word. Piper helped him set the table, chattering about her day at school. I watched them together and felt a strange pang of something, jealousy, regret. "Mommy, why don't you and Daddy talk anymore?" Piper asked as we sat down to eat. "We talk, sweetheart. We're talking right now." "No, you're not. You're both looking at your phones." I glanced up to see Owen watching me, his expression unreadable. "Your mum's right, Piper. We're just tired from work." After dinner, Owen helped Piper with her homework while I cleaned up. I could hear them laughing together in the living room, and for a moment, everything felt normal. But when I joined them on the couch, the laughter stopped. "I think it's bedtime for someone," Owen said, scooping Piper up. "Can Mummy read me a story tonight?" Piper asked. "Of course, baby." I followed them to Piper's room, grateful for the chance to feel like a normal family again. As I tucked her in, Piper looked up at me with those serious brown eyes. "Mummy, are you and Daddy still married?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. "Of course we're still married. Why would you ask that?" "Because married people sleep in the same bed, and Daddy sleeps in the other room now." I struggled to find an explanation that wouldn't scare her. "Daddy's just working on some projects that keep him up late. He doesn't want to wake Mommy." "Oh." Piper seemed to accept this. "I love you, Mummy." "I love you too, baby." When I came back to the living room, Owen was gone. I found him in the guest room, surrounded by papers and folders. The door was open, but something about his posture told me I wasn't welcome. "What are you working on?" I asked from the doorway. "Just organizing some things." Owen didn't look up from his laptop. "Owen, we need to talk about this. We can't keep living like roommates." "You're right," he said, finally looking at me. "We can't." Something in his tone made my stomach clench. What does that mean? It means I'm trying to figure out what comes next. What comes next as we work through this? I made a mistake, Owen. I should have been honest about where I was, but nothing happened. I swear to you, nothing happened. Owen closed his laptop and stood up. Isabel, do you hear yourself? You're not sorry you lied. You're not sorry you spent the night at another man's house. You're sorry I found out. That's not true. Isn't it? Because everything you've done since that night has been about managing the story, not about fixing what you broke. I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Because maybe he was right. I don't know how to fix this, I admitted. I don't either, Owen said, but I'm working on it. That night I lay awake in our empty bed, listening to the sounds of Owen moving around in the guest room. The printer ran again around midnight, and I wondered what he was documenting now. My phone buzzed with the text from Seth. Hey, can we keep work stuff strictly professional from now on? Things are complicated enough. I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it without responding. Seth had gotten what he wanted, a fun night with no consequences, but I was the one left dealing with the fallout. The joke had stopped being funny. By the end of the second week, I realized Owen wasn't just giving me the silent treatment, he was building something. I'd catch him taking photos of receipts, printing bank statements, and organizing documents in labeled folders. When I asked him about it, he'd just say he was getting organized. The guest room had become his office. He'd moved his computer, set up a filing system, and somehow made the small space feel completely separate from the rest of our home. Piper started calling it Daddy's room, which stung more than I wanted to admit. At work, things were getting awkward. Word had gotten around about my Facebook posts, and people were starting to piece together that something had happened between Seth and me. HR called me in for a friendly chat about keeping personal matters off social media, especially when they might reflect poorly on the company. We're not saying you did anything wrong, Jennifer from HR explained, but some of your recent posts have raised questions about professional boundaries. Professional boundaries? Well, there are rumors that you and Seth Milner had some kind of situation, and given that you're both married employees, we want to make sure everyone understands our policies about workplace relationships. I felt my face burn. There's no workplace relationship. Seth and I are colleagues. That's it. Of course, we just want to make sure it stays that way. Walking back to my desk, I felt everyone's eyes on me. Seth was at his computer, pointedly not looking in my direction. The easy camaraderie we'd shared was completely gone, replaced by an awkward tension that made every interaction painful. That evening, I decided to take control of the situation. If people were going to talk anyway, I might as well give them something to talk about. I posted a video on Instagram, sitting in my car after work. So apparently, having male friends is controversial now, I said to the camera. I guess I missed the memo that said married women can't have platonic relationships with men. Newsflash, it's 2024. We can be friends with whoever we want. The video got dozens of comments, mostly supportive, but a few that made me uncomfortable. Girl, your husband has every right to be upset. This sounds like there's more to the story. Maybe respect your marriage before demanding respect for your friendships. I deleted the negative comments and blocked the users, but their words stuck with me. At home, Owen was helping Piper build a puzzle at the dining room table. They looked up when I came in, and for a moment, I felt like an outsider in my own family. How was work? Owen asked, his tone carefully neutral. Fine. I sat down at the table, trying to join their activity. What are we building? It's a castle, Piper said excitedly. Daddy says when we finish it, we can frame it and hang it in my room. That sounds nice. I reached for a puzzle piece, but Owen's hand was already there, organizing the pieces by color and pattern. Everything he did was methodical, systematic. Mummy, can you help us find the corner pieces? Piper asked. I tried to focus on the puzzle, but I kept noticing things. The way Owen had organized all the pieces, the careful system he'd developed, the patience he showed with Piper's excitement. When had I last been that patient with her? I need to make some calls, I said, standing up abruptly. In our bedroom, I called my mother. "Honey, I saw your video," Greta said. "You looked upset." "I am upset. Owen is treating me like a criminal over nothing." "Well, maybe not nothing. You did lie to him." The comment surprised me. "Mom, I thought you were on my side." "I am on your side, but I'm also thinking about Piper. She called me yesterday asking why Daddy moved to the little room." "What did you tell her?" "I told her sometimes mummies and daddies need space to think." "But Isabel, how long can this go on? You have a family to think about." "I am thinking about my family. I'm thinking about teaching my daughter that women don't have to apologize for having lives outside their marriages." "And what is Owen teaching her?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "He's teaching her that actions have consequences, that trust matters, that marriage means something." "Whose side are you on?" "I'm on Piper's side," Greta said quietly. "And right now, that little girl is watching her parents destroy their marriage over pride." After we hung up, I sat on the edge of our bed, my bed now, and tried to figure out when everything had gotten so complicated. 3 weeks ago, I'd been a wife and mother, with a stable, if boring, life. Now I felt like I was fighting a war I didn't understand, against an enemy who never raised his voice. I heard laughter from the dining room and went to investigate. Owen and Piper had finished a section of the castle and were celebrating with a high five. "Look, Mummy." Piper held up the completed section. "We did the whole wall. It's beautiful, baby." I meant it, but something about their easy partnership made me feel excluded. "Want to help with the towers?" Owen asked, and for a moment his voice was warm, familiar. "Sure." I sat back down, and for the next hour, we worked together in relative peace. Piper chatted about school. Owen made Dad jokes that made her giggle, and I almost forgot we were in the middle of a crisis. But when Piper went to brush her teeth, the easy atmosphere evaporated. "We need to talk," Owen said, not looking at me as he organized the remaining puzzle pieces. "Okay. I've been thinking about what you said, about being boring, about not making you feel exciting." I felt a flicker of hope. "Owen? And you're right, I am boring. I like routine. I like predictability. I like knowing that when I come home, my family will be here. That's not a bad thing. No, it's not. But it's not enough for you, is it?" The question hung in the air. I wanted to deny it, but something in his expression told me this was a moment for honesty. "I don't know," I admitted. "I love you, Owen. I love our life. But sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing into it." Owen nodded slowly. "I can understand that. What I can't understand is why you thought lying to me was the solution." "I didn't plan to lie. It just happened." "No, Isabel. Lying doesn't just happen. You made a choice to stay at Seth's. You made a choice to lie about where you were. You made a choice to give me a fake address when I asked. Those weren't accidents." "You're right." The admission felt like pulling teeth. "I made bad choices." "Yes, you did. And then you made more bad choices by posting about it online, by making me look like the villain, by refusing to take responsibility." I was trying to protect myself. "From what? From me? I'm your husband, Isabel. I'm supposed to be the person you don't need protection from." The truth of that statement hit me hard. When had I started seeing Owen as the enemy instead of my partner? "What happens now?" I asked. Owen stood up, gathering the puzzle pieces into neat piles. "Now I finish what I started." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done being the boring husband who just accepts whatever story you decide to tell me." That night, I heard the printer running again, and for the first time, I wondered if Owen's quiet, methodical nature wasn't boring at all. It was dangerous. The 4th week brought a shift I hadn't expected. My social media posts, which had initially garnered support, were now attracting more critical comments. People who'd never commented on my posts before were asking pointed questions. "Why is your husband sleeping in another room?" "What really happened that night?" "This seems like there's more to the story." I found myself spending hours crafting responses, trying to control a narrative that seemed to be slipping away from me. The more I explained, the guiltier I sounded. At work, the tension was becoming unbearable. Seth had requested a transfer to a different department, which only fueled more speculation. During a team meeting, I caught several colleagues whispering and looking in my direction. "Is everything okay?" my supervisor Mike asked after the meeting. "You seem distracted lately." "Everything's fine, just some personal stress." "Well, if you need to take some time off to handle personal matters, that's an option." The suggestion felt like a polite way of telling me to get my act together or get out. That weekend, I decided to host a family barbecue. If I could get everyone together and show them that Owen and I were working things out, maybe I could salvage my reputation and my marriage at the same time. I invited both sides of the family, my parents, my brother Cade, Owen's sister Naomi, and a few close family friends. Owen seemed surprised by the invitation, but agreed to help with the preparations. "What's the occasion?" he asked as we set up tables in our small backyard. "Do we need an occasion to spend time with family?" Owen gave me a look that suggested he knew exactly what I was doing, but he didn't argue. The barbecue started well enough. My father, Arthur, brought his famous potato salad. Cade showed up with beer and his usual jokes. Even Naomi seemed to be making an effort to keep things light, but I could feel the undercurrent of tension. People were being too polite, too careful with their words. When I posted photos of the gathering on Facebook with the caption, "Family time is the best time," the comments were noticeably sparse. The breaking point came when Piper, innocent as always, asked the question that shattered my carefully constructed facade. "Mommy, why did you sleep at Mr. Seth's house?" The backyard went completely silent. Every adult conversation stopped. I felt every pair of eyes turn to me. "What, sweetheart?" I tried to laugh it off. "I don't know what you mean." "You told Daddy you slept at Sarah's house, but you told me you slept at your friend Seth's house. Is Sarah the same person as Seth?" My mouth went dry. I looked around the table at the faces of my family. Confusion, dawning understanding, disappointment. Naomi's expression was particularly cold. "Piper, honey, you're confused," I said, my voice higher than normal. "I slept at my friend Sarah's house." "But I heard you talking on the phone. You said Seth's apartment was really nice." Owen stood up slowly. "Piper, why don't you go inside and wash your hands? We'll have dessert in a few minutes." "Okay, Daddy." Piper skipped inside, oblivious to the bomb she'd just dropped. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. "Well," Cade said finally, "this is awkward. Isabel," my father's voice was quiet but stern, "what is your daughter talking about?" I looked around the table, searching for an ally, but even my mother looked uncertain. "It's complicated," I said finally. "No," Naomi said, her voice sharp, "it's really not. You either slept at a female friend's house like you told your husband, or you slept at a male colleague's house like you apparently told your daughter. Which is it?" "Naomi, please." "No, Isabel. I've been watching my brother tear himself apart for weeks while you play victim on social media. I think we deserve the truth." Owen sat back down, his face completely blank. "Tell them," he said quietly. "Tell us what?" my mother asked. I felt cornered, exposed. Every instinct told me to lie, to deflect, to find a way out. But Piper's innocent question had stripped away all my carefully constructed stories. "I slept at Seth's apartment," I said finally, but nothing happened. The words hung in the air like a confession. "Seth," my father repeated, "the married colleague you've been posting about." "Dad, it's not what you think." "What I think," Arthur said, standing up, "is that you lied to your husband, you lied to your family, and you've been lying to yourself." "Arthur," my mother said quietly, "maybe we should—" "No, Greta, I've kept quiet long enough." My father looked at me with disappointment that cut deeper than anger. "Isabel, I raised you better than this." Nothing happened, I said desperately. I was tired. I made a mistake in judgment, but I didn't cheat. You didn't cheat, Naomi said, but you lied, repeatedly. And then you made my brother look like a controlling husband on social media while you played the victim. I was trying to protect myself. From what? From the consequences of your own choices? Owen stood up again. I think we should call it a day. Owen, wait, my mother said. Maybe we can work this out as a family. Greta, with all due respect, your daughter has been lying to me for a month. She's been lying to all of you. I need some time to figure out what that means for our marriage. The guests began to leave, the festive atmosphere completely destroyed. Cade clapped me on the shoulder as he walked past. Sis, you really stepped in it this time. Thanks for the support, I said bitterly. Hey, I'm on your side, but even I can see you messed up here. My parents left without their usual hugs and promises to call soon. Naomi was the last to go. Isabel, I love you like a sister, she said quietly. But if you hurt my brother or that little girl any more than you already have, we're going to have problems. After everyone left, Owen and I cleaned up in silence. Piper had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from the day's excitement and drama. I'll put her to bed, Owen said, scooping her up gently. I watched him carry our daughter to her room, his movements careful and protective. When he came back, he didn't sit down. I'm staying at Naomi's tonight, he said. Piper can stay here with you. Owen, please, let's talk about this. We've talked, Isabel. You've lied. I've listened. You've justified. I've tried to understand. I'm done talking. So what happens now? Owen looked at me for a long moment. Now I do what I should have done weeks ago. Which is, I stop being the boring husband who just accepts whatever you decide our marriage should be. He left that night with a small overnight bag, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I was completely alone with the consequences of my choices. The next morning, I found an envelope on the kitchen counter with my name on it. Inside was a single piece of paper with an address and a time. Downtown Legal Plaza, 1:25 p.m., Monday. My hand shook as I read it. Owen's methodical nature wasn't boring at all. It was terrifying. Monday morning came too quickly. I spent the weekend trying to reach Owen, but his phone went straight to voicemail. When I called Naomi's house, she answered with a cold politeness that made it clear I wasn't welcome. Owen's not available right now, Isabel. Naomi, please, I need to talk to him. He'll talk to you when he's ready. What about Piper? She's asking where Daddy is. Tell her the truth for once. The line went dead. I tried calling my mother for support, but even she seemed distant. Honey, I think you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that Owen might not forgive this. Mom, you were the one who said I should stand up for myself. I said you should stand up for yourself, not lie to your husband and humiliate him in public. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But it did go this far. And now you have to deal with the consequences. At work, the atmosphere was toxic. Seth had successfully transferred departments, and I was left to handle our shared projects alone. During lunch, I overheard two colleagues talking about me in the break room. I heard she spent the night at that guy's apartment and then lied about it. Her poor husband. Can you imagine finding out your wife was cheating through social media? I wasn't cheating, I wanted to scream, but I knew it would only make things worse. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Ms. Greaves, this is Patricia Walsh from Walsh & Associates Legal Services. We need you to come to our office today at 1:25 for document delivery. My stomach dropped. Document delivery? Yes, ma'am. We're located in the downtown Legal Plaza. Do you know where that is? I knew exactly where it was. It was the address Owen had left for me. The Legal Plaza was the imposing building in the heart of downtown, surrounded by law offices and government buildings. I found Walsh & Associates on the 3rd floor and checked in with a receptionist who looked at me with professional sympathy. Ms. Greaves, please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly. I sat in the waiting room, my hands shaking as I tried to prepare myself for whatever Owen had planned. Around me, other people waited with the same tense expressions, people dealing with divorces, custody battles, legal disputes that had torn their lives apart. Isabel. I looked up to see Owen standing in the doorway, looking more composed than I'd seen him in weeks. He was wearing his best suit and carrying a leather brief holder. Owen, thank God. Can we please talk about this? We are talking about it. He sat down across from me, his movements careful and deliberate. Patricia will be with us in a moment to go over the documents. What documents? Owen opened his folder and pulled out a thick stack of papers. Dissolution of marriage papers, custody agreement, financial settlement, asset division. The words hit me like physical blows. Owen, you can't be serious. I'm very serious. His voice was calm, professional, like he was discussing a work project. I've spent the last month documenting everything. Your lies, your social media posts, your refusal to take responsibility for your choices. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself. And protecting Piper. Protecting her from what? From her mother? From the chaos you've created, from the instability, from watching her parents' marriage fall apart because one of them decided honesty was optional. Patricia Walsh appeared, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Ms. Greaves, I'm Patricia Walsh. I represent your husband in this matter. These documents outline Mr. Greaves's petition for dissolution of marriage based on irreconcilable differences. I stared at the papers, the legal language swimming before my eyes. I don't understand. We can work this out. Mr. Greaves has been very thorough, Patricia continued. He's documented the timeline of events, including your overnight stay at a male colleague's residence, the subsequent lies about your whereabouts, and your public statements on social media that have damaged the marriage relationship. I want to see a lawyer, I said desperately. That's your right, Patricia said, but Mr. Greaves is prepared to proceed with or without your cooperation. Owen leaned forward. Isabel, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to end this cleanly, fairly, and with as little damage to Piper as possible. By divorcing me, by accepting that you've already ended our marriage, I'm just making it official. I looked at the custody agreement, my heart sinking as I read the terms. Owen was asking for primary custody, with me getting supervised visitation until I completed counseling. Supervised visitation? Owen, you can't take my daughter away from me. I'm not taking her away. I'm protecting her from the chaos you've created. When you're ready to be honest with yourself and with her, we can revisit the custody arrangement. This is insane. I made one mistake. You made dozens of mistakes, Owen interrupted, his calm finally cracking slightly. You lied to me repeatedly. You humiliated me publicly. You involved our daughter in your deceptions. You've shown no remorse, no accountability, and no willingness to change. Patricia handed me a pen. Ms. Greaves, you can sign these documents today, and we can begin the dissolution process, or you can contest them and we'll see you in court. But either way, Mr. Greaves is moving forward. I stared at the pen, then at Owen's face. He looked like a stranger, calm, determined, and completely done with me. How long have you been planning this? I asked. Since the morning I found out you lied to me, Owen said. I gave you every opportunity to tell the truth, to take responsibility, to fix what you broke. Instead, you doubled down on the lies and made everything worse. So you've just been waiting for the right moment to destroy me. I've been waiting for you to give me a reason not to. The words hung between us like a final verdict. I thought about the last month, the lies, the social media posts, the refusal to admit I'd done anything wrong. I thought about Piper's innocent question at the barbecue, about my family's disappointed faces, about the way I'd made Owen into the villain of my own story. I need time to think, I said finally. You have 48 hours, Patricia said. After that, we file with the court, and the process begins with or without your signature. Owen stood up, closing his folder with the same methodical precision he brought to everything else. Isabel, I loved you. I trusted you. I would have forgiven almost anything if you'd just been honest with me. And now I'm being proper. You should try it. He walked away, leaving me sitting in the legal office with divorce papers in my hands and the crushing realization that my joke had stopped being funny a long time ago. The next morning, I woke up alone in our apartment to find that Owen had come by while I was sleeping. His remaining clothes were gone, his toiletries removed from the bathroom, his books and personal items cleared out. On the kitchen counter was a single key, my key, and a USB drive with a note attached. The silence is yours now. I plugged the USB into my laptop and found dozens of files, screenshots of my social media posts, transcripts of my conversations with family members, bank records showing the timeline of events, even audio recordings of some of our arguments. Owen had documented everything, building a case against me with the same methodical precision he brought to his IT work. Every lie I'd told, every justification I'd made, every time I'd blamed him for my choices, it was all there, organized and catalogued like evidence in a criminal trial. At the bottom of the folder was a video file labeled For Isabel. I clicked on it with shaking hands. Owen's face appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like Naomi's living room. He looked tired but determined. Isabel, if you're watching this, it means you've seen the evidence. I want you to understand that I didn't do this to hurt you. I did it to protect myself and Piper from any more chaos. He paused, looking directly into the camera. I know you think I'm being cruel, but I'm being proper. I'm following the rules that you decided didn't apply to you. I'm being honest, which is something you forgot how to do. Another pause. You have a choice now. You can sign the papers, and we can end this with whatever dignity we have left, or you can fight it and drag our daughter through a custody battle where all of this becomes public record. Owen leaned forward slightly. But either way, Isabel, the joke is over. It stopped being funny the moment you decided our marriage was something you could lie about. The video ended, leaving me staring at my own reflection in the black screen. I spent the rest of the day going through Owen's evidence, seeing our marriage's destruction laid out in meticulous detail. Every screenshot, every timeline, every documented lie painted a picture of a woman I barely recognized, manipulative, dishonest, and completely unwilling to take responsibility for her actions. Was that really who I'd become? I signed the papers because Owen wasn't bluffing. He'd documented everything, and fighting would only hurt Piper. In the lawyer's office, he looked relieved as I signed, calm and certain this was right for our daughter. Outside, I apologized. He asked if I was sorry for what I did, or just for getting caught. I admitted the truth. I regretted the damage, not the desire. Months later, watching Piper perform at her recital, I finally understood what I'd lost. Owen had peace because he chose integrity. I was left with silence, earned, honest, and permanent.